up, giggly witches? We're so excited. We've got an amazing guest today. What episode is this? This is episode
40.
41.
41. 41.
41 slash
Always
season
say the
2,
wrong one.
episode 8. We don't know what number it is.
What day is it? What episode are we on? Who knows?
With us today, so excited. We have Kate Van Horn with us.
Hi, for episode 40, 41, 49.
41. Episode 41.
I'm really excited. You guys have just such great energy.
Yay, we're so happy
Saying
you're
more nice
here.
things. We're like saying more nice things. Now I'm all distracted. Okay. I have the book next to me, so I'm going to intro you first.
Start there.
Kate wrote this amazing book if you're ever trying to learn tarot or if you're trying to deepen your practice. It's called The Inner Tarot, and honestly, it's so amazing. I was actually thinking about reading it again. She just has such a great perspective on all of the cards, and it's just, I love that you have affirmations, and there's just so much information in here. And I kind of breezed past your title introduction here, but I got really excited about the book.
I appreciate it.
Please tell us a little bit about you really quick, and then we'll get into silly goofy time.
Sounds good. I'm Kate. I'm an intuitive reader, psychic. I read tarot cards, people, and places and spaces. I obviously, wrote the book that you just showed off, and it is something I'm super proud of. I've been reading tarot cards for close to a decade now, and reading professionally for maybe 6 or 7 of those years. And everything that I share in the spiritual space is meant to offer tools that empower and enrich your experience, never make you feel anxious or scared or intimidated by the practices. And yeah, it's just been such a fun journey to get here and to create this world and this business for myself, doing something that I absolutely love to do. So I am incredibly grateful.
Yay!
Yay! Well, we're so excited you're here. We've been chatting about how we're really excited to learn more about Feng Shui and numerology and all of the things. We love all of the things. But before we dive into all of that, let's have some silly goofy time.
Yes.
Pam, do you want to kick us off with some silly goofiness?
Okay, so I actually didn't have a super silly goofy. I was gonna just share a PSA.
A Pam service
It's a Pam service announcement.
There's also public Sadie announcements sometimes.
I just saw this TikTok of this girl being like, well, now I have to respond, right? I guess she went on this date with this guy and kind of ghosted him. And he sent her this video, and I'm just going to play a few seconds of it because it's long, but it's really funny. Please hold.
Okay.
Hey, haven't heard from you in a while. Not like I'm counting the days, but it's been 25. That's fine. I know you might just be a little worried about what you would possibly say to me as a response. So I actually wrote you a response for you. So here it is. Hey, so sorry I haven't responded in 25 days. You're just such an impressive young man. It's honestly intimidating. The reason I haven't responded to you is because I am worried that I don't think I'm as funny as you, and also I am not nearly as attractive as you. While you are easily a 10 out of 10 looks-wise, I am a measly 8 out of 10. Can you ever forgive me? And will you please go on another date with me? I need to see that glorious hog. Everyone.
And he just goes on.
Wow.
This is me to every man I've ever dated. I'm like, I'm funnier than you. I'm more attractive. That's so funny. I would respond to that 1,000% if a man sent me that.
Everybody in the comments was like, I fear this would work on me.
This would absolutely work
This
on
would
me.
work on me. But it was just really funny. And then it goes on for another 20 seconds. But anyway, so that was just kind of funny. But
That's hilarious.
I did have a PSA
Okay.
about something. Sadie and I had a conversation last week. Whenever you did your, I think, was it a new moon or full moon? I don't
Full
even know.
moon.
Full moon. Oh yeah, the Scorpio full moon. And She did an Instagram live, and they can be so awkward sometimes, because sometimes you're just like talking to yourself and you have to like pretend that people are there and engaging with you, or there people are there and just like no one's saying anything, so you're just like, right, guys? You're just like, hey.
You know what I mean?
And so I used to do them, and I miss doing them.
Yeah,
but
they're
I
fun.
stopped because it was just so hard talking to myself all the time. And then Sadie had said something where she was like, oh yeah, at first it's really hard. And I was like, oh yeah, at first, because I'm just starting. So this is just a PSA reminder that just because something is hard or isn't working out the way that you thought it would, it doesn't mean that it's wrong or that you're failing or that it's even the wrong path or anything like that. Sometimes you're just starting and it takes time.
Now it doesn't bother me at all. When you first get on, there's going to be one person watching, or maybe it's a weird time of day, or you just never know. Sometimes there's 20 people there, the chat's popping off, it's so fun. Sometimes there's 2 people there and there's a little bit of, like, and you just kind of have to go into it, like, either way, I'm just going to show up like there's a million people and I'm going to give it, all my energy and whatever. But Pam was there though, and she was
tried to respond to everything.
She's the best. Yeah.
Who's going to make sure to say something.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And I think also, let's be fair, like, it's so that you can post it later, like the full thing.
Yeah.
And take their time, and it's all, and it's still really valuable, whether someone's there.
100%. That's a good point.
And I will add, so I think I started doing this stuff about 5 years ago online. I remember I lived in the house right next door there. I can see it because I moved one door over. I remember going live for the first time, and I had like a full page of notes, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this. And I was so scared, and I blush, or like I just get really flushed when I'm like nervous. It's so embarrassing, and it's always like blotchy too, like it looks like I'm dying. It can't just be one color either. So I'm so red and blotchy. I'm sweating profusely. I talk so fast. I think I'm on live for all of, generously like 3 minutes. Because I'm meant to go on for like half an hour. And I was like, I don't know how to like say everything. I'm like, okay, bye. And I hop off and I'm like, never doing that again, but I just kept going. And now I hop on and it's like, my nervous system doesn't respond at all, even, because it's just like, whatever, I don't care, like I don't care in the sense of like if people are there or not or whatever. So at first it feels like you're gonna die. Your body is like, what is this? And then it's just like then it's just normal and it gets to be fun and whatever. So do the scary things.
Do the scary things.
Do the scary things. Okay. My silly goofy, I always like to, every time we have like a psychic or, intuitive on, I always love to ask, like, what is one of your maybe like craziest psychic experiences, or maybe like an unhinged thing your intuition told you and it ended up being true, or you like listened and it ended up being like the right thing, or, do you have anything that comes to mind of just like, you're like, yeah, that was crazy.
I've definitely had quite a few. I feel like the ones that were really unhinged were things that happened to me early in my psychic experience, like before I had like, any form of protection or boundaries. I was walking into spaces and being like, this is what happened or went down here, and like getting kind of the feeling of a certain memory or not so great, vibe. So those were the more unhinged ones. I'd say anything related to clients is like much more grounded, and also from a place of, like, we're not trying to freak anyone out, but the details are still absolutely there. Like the cards or guides will just tell me something, usually just really loving and awesome, but luckily very spot on.
Amazing.
Pam, do you have something that comes to mind? I know we've probably like discussed this a handful of times now, because I always like to ask, but
just gonna say, I feel like I've shared all of mine, but I still think that or maybe I can't remember if I shared this one or not, but or maybe we literally talked about it last week. I can't remember. Anyway,
who knows? I black out when we record. I don't remember anything.
When I was living in Nashville, I lived on the second floor of this house, and I went to this one bar and it's like one of the oldest bars in Nashville, I guess. I can't even remember what it's called, but it's near the Parthenon. Because, fun fact, Nashville has an exact replica of the Parthenon in Athens.
We went.
They
It was
tried
amazing.
to be the Athens of the South. That was like their thing for some reason. I don't know.
I was like, you're not gonna let Athens, Georgia have that one?
But anyways, so the bar is near there. So I went, and it was just weird vibe.
Yeah.
I felt very icky. I like had to go to the bathroom, and something was like, don't even, like, just go home. Like, don't even go to the bathroom, just go home. And I was like, okay. And then I got home and woke up in the middle of the night to banging on my window, and I'm on the second floor, so it's not like a person. There's no animals or anything. And I just had this image of like 3 dead people outside of my window, and they're like, hey, like, I know you can hear us.
I know you're in there.
I know you can hear us. Can you help us? Because they've just been like stuck there for so long. And then, you know, when they kind of like send somebody and they're like,
You.
help us. She can help us. Get out of here. So that was kind of, I always like refer to them as like, are you familiar with the Haunted Mansion? Like the 3 hitchhiking ghosts. Like that's how I imagine them. It's just like my 3 hitchhiking ghosts that are banging on my window in the middle of the night.
Once they captured your attention, they stick around. They're like,
Oh
hey,
my God.
you can hear me.
I know. You're like, no, please.
That's tough. That's really tough.
Oh my gosh. I always come up with these questions. I don't think of my own answer. I think I've talked about this before, but it was crazy. So when I first went through like a psychic development program, which now looking back, I can see as a child that I had experiences, but you know, like you just logic yourself out of those, right? But I intuitively decided to do this program, even though I didn't think I was psychic or anything. And then when I started doing it, this sounds sad, but this was a long time ago and I'm completely over it. But I started getting these like downloads and visions of my boyfriend at the time cheating on me. And I mean, I was like, there's no way this is like, I'm like, why am I thought something was wrong with me, because I was like, I've never been paranoid about this. I don't have past relationships where that happened. So I would have these anxieties or whatever. And, it ended up being true. I was seeing the women in my meditations. Crazy.
Gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I'm over it now. But it was like, wow, okay.
Yeah,
When he encouraged me to take that program, he probably didn't expect that to be the outcome.
wow.
He's like, yeah, you should definitely do it, babe. You're totally psychic. And I was like, yeah, okay. Well, now I'm learning things about you. But anyways, now it's silly and goofy, but it wasn't.
Your guides went to his guides and were like, tell her to take this course.
Yeah, they were like, we gotta get her out of here. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
Enough is enough. Can I share mine?
Yes, please.
So I recently left LA, and my husband and I have been living in like this little tiny beach town in Connecticut near my family. Turns out there's a lot more animals here than I'm used to. So I'm very afraid of most animals. So
Really?
I'm like, I saw a bobcat. I saw like.
Oh, okay, that is
That's
scary.
like a scary animal to
that's
encounter.
scary, but
Like, I thought you were gonna be like, I saw a bunny.
There's a lot of squirrels.
There are a lot of bunnies. There's a lot of bunnies. There's a lot of birds. There's a lot of different types of birds. There's just a lot going on. And so I'm like a little overwhelmed because every time I see raccoons in our backyard, like just stuff that I don't love to see, I like to see from a distance.
Fair enough.
So I've been Googling like spiritual significance of seeing this many.
Of course. Of course.
You have to.
And in reality, it's just you don't live in the city anymore. That's the spirit.
Spirit's like, you live in the woods now. That's why you're seeing animals.
Left LA. Surprise. And then, in addition to that, to overcome my fear, I've just been talking to all of them. I'm like, hey, friend, how are you? How's your day? Because I just don't want them to feel, uncomfortable around me because I don't want that, energy.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my silly little thing.
I love it.
Trying to make friends with friends I don't want to have.
Oh, it'll be
Animals.
great.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
wait. I
You're
have
gonna
two
be
things.
the Cinderella of your little neighborhood before you know
Yeah.
it. Just
So, I
talking,
guess so.
twirling around with all the raccoons. The birds are
Oh
gonna help you get dressed in the morning. She's like, please
Too
God,
much
no.
for me. It's too much for me. Really
Okay,
bad.
wait. I have two things. So, one, I've been doing the same thing. I just moved to Florida, and there's lizards everywhere.
Oh, there are.
They're
yeah.
on my car, they're everywhere, but like they're never on my neighbors' cars. I'm like, why are
they're
you always
talking to
on my
you.
exactly?
Yeah,
So I was
that.
like, I'm googling spiritual significance of lizards as if I don't
Sure.
live in the jungle of Florida and there are lizards everywhere. That's why they're everywhere. So, but then I have a raccoon story that might not help your fear, but it's also really funny.
Go ahead.
When I was living at home in Manhattan, I was walking home one night, and there was a raccoon, and we saw each other from afar, and we both stopped like this, and like looked at each other,
Like
and then he
the
started-
Spider-Man meme.
and then he started running towards me. And meanwhile, if there's a raccoon on the
Yeah.
streets of Manhattan, there's something wrong with it. Like that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
a normal encounter.
Oh.
So now
Yeah.
I am running down the street in the opposite direction.
I gotta go.
Because I'm terrified. And I
I
get
was about
home
to
and I was like,
say
I just
raccoon.
got chased by a raccoon down the street. And no one believes me because
No, that's my worst nightmare.
He's like, this isn't your neighborhood. You like get out of here.
it was so scary.
He's running those streets.
It's awful. It's awful.
Okay. Well, I grew up I'm from Wisconsin, so we have a lot of raccoons. And when we'd go camping up north, I just grew up with them. They're always little rascals because they're really smart. They have thumbs, so they can really
Yeah.
open stuff.
Yeah.
So we'd have to rig all the coolers and stuff to make sure that the raccoons couldn't get in. So I just think of them as like little silly guys. I don't know. I don't find them frightening, but I've never been chased by one
Fair. Fair.
or
think
spooked
it's
by
just
one
so
really in
funny.
any way.
It's so funny because like I admire and like I think they're beautiful, all of that.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm still just a girl. Like I don't
You're like,
like,
I'm literally just a girl, please.
like this is nothing more than just, I respect your privacy and you respect mine.
Yeah. From a distance, please.
Yeah. I think Pam and I are more like if we see a bobcat, we both assume like it's gonna sense our vibes and want to like cuddle with us. We
Yeah.
both.
I have that very strongly with cheetahs because I
Yeah.
love them so much, and I'm like,
it'll know.
They'll know
Yeah,
that I
they'll know.
love them.
I was just watching a video of a guy like cuddling with a bear, and I was like, that would be me if I saw a bear in the woods. Probably
can
the bear
try.
over the man in the woods, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like
that's
me
what
to
they
write your
say.
eulogy?
The vibes were not, in fact, vibey. You know what? If that's the way I go, though, that's fine.
I feel like I would want to go like maybe a less violent way.
Yeah, but I was doing what I loved. Playing with animals.
Sure.
No, I did recently, Kate, I feel like you're not going to like this. I did recently save a possum, and it was living in my house.
I hate possum so much.
I was like, you know what, you're not going to like. It was a little baby, though. It fit in the palm of my hand, and it was scared. But then I reunited it with its mom, and I mean, it was the most crazy, magical experience of my whole life,
That's
just
fun.
watching
That's
it trot after his mom after I found it. So, but it lived in my house for like 4 days.
I'm proud of you. I couldn't do it, but I do think that's beautiful.
Yeah. No, I think I'm more on like I don't want it in my house. Like I think that's really nice that you
I think
did
that's
that.
fair. I think it's fair, and I understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually
Okay.
going to look into getting on a list to foster more possums because I really enjoyed that. But
I'm sorry. I was just scared of that.
like, okay.
Okay.
I
No.
want to get into the magical stuff. So, Kate, I'm super curious. Kind of like tell us about your spiritual journey. Were you always psychic? How did you sort of like find this path? How did it come to be that you started doing this professionally? I kind of want to know the history of Kate.
Yeah, so I really started this when I was moving through quite a healing experience myself. I had been navigating a few different like chapters of deep shadow work, I guess we could just kind of label it as. So
Yeah.
I had recently gone through treatment for not only an eating disorder, but I've been diagnosed with PTSD. So those two things became these really like intense labels for me. And I was like, no, I don't want to like be defined by this like narrative of like always needing to fear my mental health or be like, you know, consumed by this healing process. So at the same time, when I was navigating that through like more traditional therapies, I got a deck of tarot cards. And I was like, this is just a really wonderful complement to the work that I'm doing on myself. It was something I could come home and just like have it be really peaceful and feminine. And that was the beginning. And I think what I was looking for was a creative outlet. I think I had a lot of energy moving through me that I was trying to learn to sit with. And I needed something to channel it into. And the cards became that. So I just kind of dove right into it. I started teaching myself anything I could, reading as much as I could, practicing cards as much as I could. And it was definitely a personal practice for a long time. But around like maybe a year into the tarot stuff, I was like, this is all getting like really too hard to explain. Like the pulls I would have were like too accurate, and like the feelings I was having as I pulled them, and I just started seeing my intuition light up in new ways because I was also trusting myself again. I was feeling safe in my energy and in my body again, and it was like I was seeing kind of the nuance of the world again for the first time because I'd been like numbing out for a while. So anyway, I at that point started seeking out different spiritual mentors and people to support me and teach me, and it just became something I kind of fell headfirst into. Then it was around like a little bit before the pandemic, I started shifting my business. So it was even before 2020, I had launched my first like tarot course, and I was teaching the cards and things like that. So it was kind of crazy timing because everything shifted so much, and I was afraid to pivot, but it was also like everyone was kind of pivoting at that time. So it worked in my favor because no one was questioning what we were doing. We were all just like showing up the best we could. I was like, hey guys, I'm a tarot reader now. Like, sorry, announcement. And it was really accepted, which was great.
Amazing. I love that.
I love that, you know, you said, you know, you read spaces, which is very unique. Not everyone, you know, includes that in there. All the psychics, you know, don't always include that in there. So I'm curious, like, how did you come to be a reader of spaces and Feng Shui and like this sort of like energy around like the home and living spaces and things like that? How did that come into all of this?
Yes, that was like a more recent shift. I think as soon as I wrote my book, I felt pretty like I'm never, you know, done with tarot. Like it's a part of me and it's a part of my practice forever, and it's part of my readings forever. But as far as like learning something new, I felt really like complete around that cycle. And so I was craving something else to like dive into. I'm a Gemini moon. I like to learn. I'm always craving some sort of like, you know, information. So Feng Shui showed up as that. My husband's an architect. I've always been very, very sensitive to spaces because I'm an empath and I love how a space looks and curating it. But I never thought about combining my psychic abilities with the space. So we started having these conversations about like how I would feel in certain places and homes, and that led me to maybe studying like the Feng Shui, reading more, eventually getting certified in that, and deciding like, oh, this is something I'm going to kind of take my typical psychic reading process and just apply it to a new thing. Because you can read anything. I could read psychically this crystal on the table. Will it have enough to read an hour-long session? Maybe not. But it holds something. It holds a story. And our home holds so much of our story because it experiences it with us and it moves through every memory with us.
Yeah. I was wondering like how Feng Shui interacts with like your personal energy, the energy of maybe like all the people living in the house together, and then also the energy of the house itself.
That's a great question. So everyone is going to be contributing their own energy to the overall kind of like home and the experience, because we all have our own elemental strengths and gifts and maybe weaknesses, and the home is meant to enhance and support those things, not stifle them. So it's all about learning based on like the natural kind of footprint of the home, the layout of the home, how it was built, the story the land has, using that first and focusing on the gifts that it has and also supporting anything that it's lacking. Then noticing how you respond and act with the home. So for example, like if you notice for whatever reason you can't sleep well in your bedroom, there's something to uncover there, especially if you've never had sleep problems before at other homes that you've lived in. So it's just a constant kind of communicating back and forth with the home itself. And I like to say that the home is like a spirit guide for us. It has a ton of information and it has a ton of insight, and we can talk to it like a guide.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
It's so fascinating, and I want to know so much more about all of this. I'm like, I could ask
I
you
have so
questions
many
for the next
questions.
7 hours, truly. I'm curious, like, let's say everyone here, like, we're kind of like brand new to this. Maybe we kind of have an idea of what it is, but what are like maybe a few small things for someone to, I don't know, take note of in their own space, or if you don't really know what a client's like space looks like yet, but you would just be like, yeah, like these are like small things that you can shift the energy in your home quickly. Are there like go-to things or things that you're like, never ignore this when it comes to feng shui? Like things that you would kind of have people start with. I'm
I
curious.
think like clutter in general is always the first place to start because it holds such dense and old energy. And typically we have more than we need. And I think starting there and really investigating why we hold on to certain things so that we can decide what to part with, and then we can invite and create space for new intentions to come in. So if someone's saying like, I'm really struggling in my career in this home, I'm not getting the momentum I want, my business isn't, bringing the results I need, I'm not gaining enough abundance, we need to figure out what can go first in order to welcome that abundance back in. So I think honestly decluttering, as kind of unsexy as it is, everyone wants to be the first to add a cure, when the reality is like it's probably something to release first and surrender first, and
That makes
noticing
sense.
like how it's kind of holding us back. It anchors us. I like to say it anchors us to an old version of ourselves. So if we want to always be progressing and moving forward, we need to get comfortable releasing those things. And then I think another really simple missed step in feng shui is appreciating and using everything you have. So like little habits, like I've talked in the past about like using all 4 burners on your stove. It's like that sets this kind of message to the universe of like, I am not going to just stick with one. I'll diversify my different resources. I'll use everything available to me. I appreciate everything here. Same reason I suggest going through the front door just as often as you go through like a side door or an entry through your garage. Like use everything, open the windows, let light in, just create this experience and ritual every day in your home, and your home is going to feel so appreciated for that.
I love that. I definitely always use like the front right burner. That's my favorite
That's
one.
mine too.
But
I know, I was immediately like, oh, I use the 2 on like one side. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start using the other side for a
Switch it
little
up.
while now.
Yeah, it's a funny thing that when that's like a small example, but you can apply it everywhere. It's like, oh, okay, like I'm noticing I don't really go in that corner and like read or meditate. Like, let me start to bring more life force there, because what we're doing in feng shui is we're studying the chi, the life force energy, and how it's meandering and moving through our homes. So if it collects in certain spaces and doesn't get released, it just sits there. And alternatively, if we don't invite enough life there, it kind of starts to feel stale. So you look around and you notice, like, can I walk freely through my space? Can I just kind of like feel very comforted by this experience? Or do I feel like I'm like stepping over boxes and clutter? Or am I kind of just like standing in the middle of an empty room? Like, your body's not going to enjoy that feeling.
Okay. Follow-up question. Let's say you have like a guest room that's never used, because you just made me think of that, like, oh, let me read over here. What's the vibe on that kind of thing, where it's like this is a guest room that's kind of just remained empty?
Yeah, I think like if you are someone who has a guest room but you don't host very often, like some people just don't love to host overnight guests, and that's totally fine. I would recommend creating new purpose for that room then. Like maybe you create a little day bed or a pull-out couch or something for that occasional guest, but instead make it like your reading room or your meditation room or your yoga space or your office or your art studio. Like, I think just recognizing like the shoulds of what our home needs to be rather than how we really need it to function. So
Okay.
I'm a big fan too of just like multi-purpose rooms because we don't have sprawling, I don't have a gigantic home. Like a lot of
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
don't, right? We serve a lot of purposes and see a lot of life. So yeah, rather than just having a room that does nothing, like I would say, bring a reason into that space of why you want to spend time there.
Amazing. I
I
love
love that you
that.
said the shoulds of our
Yeah.
spaces. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I should have a guest room, but it's like, well, if I only use it twice a year,
Yeah.
there's a way I can work
Probably,
around that and make it something really cool and inspiring. Like, I immediately went like, oh, that's an art studio, and I'll throw a blow-up mattress in there if I need
there
it.
you go.
Like,
That's your
that's
thought
comfortable
display.
nowadays. It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
I
love
think
that.
just seeing what you really need and what's going to make it feel like home to you.
Yeah.
It's a great
I'm like,
question.
okay, I'm about to sell my guest bed. Sorry, everybody.
I mean, it's
Or
hard
I'll
because
just
you
come
also
visit
want
more
to,
often.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. You want to show that you're welcoming. Of course, like you want it to be comfortable for your guests, but just knowing, like, does that align with me? Like, do I like to host? What's the number of your home? Do you know like your address? Like,
Seven. I sent
the seven?
everybody this post. Wait, did I don't know, actually.
Wait,
Maybe I
no,
didn't send it
what?
to.
Tell me.
I sent it to everybody. This was before I knew you were moving. But
And I
she
didn't
has
have an
this-
address.
Yeah.
I've been a nomad for a while.
It has this amazing post on the numerology of your home, and I sent it to every person that I know.
Okay, wait, catch me up on it. Let's talk about it.
Well,
Catch me
the
up
fact
on
that
it.
you're in a seven home is, I mean, kind of like relates to the fact that you don't have a ton of guests. The seven home usually relates to solitude. It's kind of like the hermit energy. It's where we go to have like a spiritual sanctuary, reflective time, solo. It's a quiet space. It doesn't want to be the life of the party. So that's kind of funny that you
That
even
is funny.
mentioned,
I
like,
also
oh,
have
do I
my-
even need my guest room?
My sevens on here too.
Are you a big fan of sevens?
Sevens. It's my
That's
number.
awesome. Such a spiritual number. But anyway, to anyone listening, our address breaks down to a certain number. So what you do is like example, like 25 would be 7 because it's 5 plus 2. So you want to break it down into
Mine's 7 too.
Oh, is it? Okay, this is why you guys
Like, do that. I'm like,
are
Look
do
at
that. Look
I
at
love
us, little hermits. That's pretty true.
Yeah.
But so essentially, you want to break it down until it's a single digit, so like 1 through 9. Then there are master numbers 11, 22, and 33, but each of them have a different kind of energy or frequency that they carry, a different lesson for the people who live there. And it really tells you a lot about your experience while you're in that home, what you might expect, what might be challenging as well. Like everything has its gifts and shadows, and
Of course.
just depends on what you chose with your home. There's no good or bad. Some are a little bit easier than others, but all of them hold wonderful gifts.
I love that. That was one of my questions too. It was kind of like a two-part question.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, if there are, maybe more like challenging aspects of feng shui, and then also like anything that maybe on that end of it kind of gets like a bad rap that you are like, no, this isn't bad.
Yeah, I think the challenging part of feng shui is that, and the reason why I wouldn't say I practice very, very strict feng shui, and anything I support my clients with is not like black and white, by the textbook rules. And the reason being, feng shui is a very ancient practice, and our homes and the way they've been built has changed quite a bit, and it also varies where you live and like what the kind of like region is, things like that. If you are in a studio, you're going to have a very different experience than if you have a huge sprawling floor plan. But the point I'm trying to make here is like nothing is good or bad or right or wrong. It's just a matter of, okay, noticing, for example, if you have like your bathroom, say, in your wealth corner, it's not the ideal placement. Are you going to completely redo your house and renovate? Probably not. So instead,
Yeah.
looking at things like, how do I enhance that area? How do I support it? Do I add a plant? What can I do to make it feel a little bit higher vibe, rather than assuming that because of that, I can't receive wealth in this home.
You're like, oh, I'm screwed. There's nothing I can do.
No,
That's
and
never the
it's
case.
so-
Yeah.
Never the case with really any spiritual practice. You're never
Yeah.
screwed. It's just being like mindful and aware of like, oh, this could be something I need to work with and work around
Yeah.
and set a lot of intention and kind of compensate for. but then looking at your floor plan and being like, whoa, this is going to come really easily to me. And that's
Yeah.
beautiful. And it's one of the reasons why I've moved a lot in my life. And I love that you're nomadic, because I believe that like moving frequently is actually great, because these different lessons get to find us at different chapters, and different homes are going to support us in different ways. So
Yeah.
just because you bought a home and it's supposed to be your forever home, no, it doesn't. Like and some people might, resist that a little bit, but I just like to challenge all of us that even if it is a home you plan to live in for a long time, you can refresh it, you can renew it by redecorating, reorganizing. You can shift things when you are ready to.
It makes me think of like astrology, right? Like it's information so that we can be aware and make choices.
Yes.
And like there's like light and shadow aspects to everything. So if it's like reading your home and being like, ooh, what might be a challenge here? Just like there might be a part of your birth chart where you're like, ooh, that might be a challenge for me. And it's simply information. It's nothing to be like, like, I don't know, forlorn about.
It's just like
okay. I want to know, can we go through the corners? Because you mentioned the wealth corner. And can we do like the corners and just learn a little bit about that?
Sure, I'll do the primary 4 corners, but technically there are 9 spaces in what's called a Bagua map. So a Bagua map kind of looks like a tic-tac-toe board, and there are 9 sections within it. So if you put that over your home, you could see like, okay, this is my fame section, this is my love and relationship section, and the Bagua map always follows the same. Maybe we can like find a link and put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I was like, I want to look up. I'm very visual, so while you're talking, I'm going to be looking on my phone, but I'm looking for the map. I'm not texting.
No worries at all. For example, the back left corner is going to be the wealth corner. So that's where you want to make sure there's plenty of great light. There's probably a healthy plant there. That would be a great thing. It's ruled by the wood element, so any colors of green would all enhance and support the wealth section.
Okay.
The back right corner is going to be your love and relationship section. That's a great place for a love kind of like intention, whether that's a photo of you and your spouse, or if it's like a piece of rose quartz because you're calling in relationships and love with others, like deciding what you want to do to kind of celebrate and anchor that part of your house. If someone's like primary bedroom falls into that, it's a great spot for it, because that's ideally where we're inviting partnership.
Hooray.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a follow-up question on that.
Sure.
So the way my house is, it's not really a house, it's like a condo apartment situation.
Yeah.
But you come in the front door and then immediately there's a wall and then you go up a set of stairs.
Yes.
So do I do it, is it based, and then I have like, I'm in this like loft area. So is it just on like the first floor?
It's on all floors. So the Bagua map is layered on all floors, and it's as if there are no walls. So even though there is a wall right in front of you, pretend it's not there. It's like, how far back could I go in my home, and how far to the left could I go? And that's in your wealth corner, even if you were walking through walls, hypothetically.
Copy that. Okay.
Yeah.
Good
So
to
you
know.
always orient the Bagua map if someone's like listening to this right now and Googling it simultaneously.
If you're watching.
There it is. You're always going to orient it so that the front door is on that, bottom kind of side of it.
Okay.
Exactly. So you're entering. If you can even hold your phone like the way you guys are when you enter your
it's just like front entrance right here. So you can literally.
Exactly. And occasionally our front entrance is not smack dab in the middle. So for example, we see homes all the time that have the door all the way on the left. They're entering in a different section, according to that.
That's how mine is. It's like my front door is over there. Down.
So it's fun to see like, okay, where am I in each of these rooms and spaces? Like for example, my last place, the health section in the center was my dining room table. So it kind of made sense. I was like, this is where we eat. This is where we nourish ourselves. This is where we're really grounding. So that worked well. But I wasn't a huge fan of the fact that my life purpose section had a powder room. It had a bathroom. So it was kind of and I had to spend a lot of time enhancing that energy.
Oh, I think mine has a bathroom too.
And the reason why, for those listening, we're getting a little iffy about the bathrooms, they're a lower vibrational space. It's where we go to cleanse and get rid of energy. It's, if you think also about the drains and flushing and things like that, it's removing life force from the home. So it's obviously a necessity, but it is a lower vibe part of the house.
Okay.
Like,
That's
not the
so
bathroom.
Bathroom again.
I've
Yeah.
also this is well one sorry, I'm all tangled. One, I do this because of germs, but I heard it's
Yes.
also a feng shui thing. You gotta close the
You
lids.
know how to close the toilet seat.
Oh yeah, I've always done that. Actually, when I stayed with Pam, she was like, "Thank you for like closing the lids," and I was like, "I can't stand it when people don't close those lids." I don't know.
I
That's just
literally
the
have
house I
like
was
a
raised in.
note on my toilet lid that says, "Please put me down."
Put me down. Yes, you have to. I grew up the same way. Like my mom was a stickler. Like that was
Yeah.
never okay.
'Cause
And
I was always told that ends up on your toothbrush. So I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Say no more. I will close the
No
toilet."
more. That's all you got for
no
me.
problem. So yes, that is something. But from a feng shui side, in addition to it being gross, if you shut it, you are helping so it's not constantly flushing away like abundance essentially. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
That's what I'm gonna tell all my guests that don't do that. I'm like, "You're flushing away your
You're
abundance
literally
if you don't close that. You're literally thanks a lot."
Thanks.
You actually have to put money in this money jar right here if you forget to. Instead of a swear jar, I have like a toilet seat jar. I'm like, "Look, you did this."
So it's all these little things, these little hacks to keep
Yeah.
the energy inside, to keep the energy feeling clean, refreshed, renewed, all of that.
Is there any other like the toilet, closing the lid? Are there any other little like hacks or tips or little things like that that come to mind? Maybe for like places that we like use a lot, we're moving around in a lot. Maybe like the kitchen or anything else for the bathroom, or I don't know, anything else that comes to mind, like little
Totally. I think
things like
I mean,
that.
I could go on and on about
Probably
each.
a million, yeah.
I think like the one area I think we often neglect is our entryway, and it's kind of the most important part of it's the mouth of the home. So it's the first entry into the space, and it's the mouth in which like the chi comes in. So it's really important that we first of all, keep that space clear. We don't want mountains of shoes. We don't want piles of Amazon boxes. We want
Oh my
it
God,
to
I have
also be
boxes
kind
there
of
right now.
decorated and to feel welcoming because it's typically, most often, pretty close to our life purpose section. So we should walk in and feel inspired as soon as we walk in our homes. And an entryway is typically pretty small. It's also not super necessary. So it's not the place that we think to decorate first, but having an amazing piece of art, having, hooks or things so you have a place to put all of your stuff, being very intentional so that that space always feels like a breath of fresh air when you walk in.
Like you feel happy to be home. It makes you feel relaxed rather than like, "Oh, there's stuff here."
Exactly. Yeah, it's the first impression for your
It
guests,
makes
but it's also
perfect sense.
the first impression
Yeah.
for you. Like when you come in, you should be like, I love to be here. So
I love that. It's a big thing too for like witches. Like we clean that space
Yep.
all the time anyway. So that makes so much sense.
yeah, it's the portal. Like it's the threshold
Yeah.
of like bringing what you've been able to cultivate outside and bringing that magic in. So recognizing that and equally creating that safety of like, here's what I'm creating boundaries for and not letting in as well, which is also a fun practice to consider.
I love that.
Amazing.
Are there any like I don't even know. Does feng shui have like ritual to it, or is it more about like the placement and setup of the home?
So I think like yes and no. I think feng shui is mostly, I guess there is ritual to it, but
I
I would
suppose
say that
cleaning is almost like a Pam.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
I
We're
guess.
just completely ignoring her, like choking.
You know when you like drink water but you breathe at the same time?
I
by
do
accident?
that nearly every
Yeah.
time I drink. Yeah, I do that all the
So
time.
sorry. Please continue.
Oh my God, don't apologize. I see it's hard because like everything can be a ritual to your point.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
cleaning, anything, truly. It's all about the intention we bring to it.
Yeah.
I think that the little like tricks and like the touches throughout the week or the month or even the day, those are more of the witchcraft, like the simmer pots
Yeah,
and things like that.
yeah.
I
Versus
love me a
true-
simmer pot.
Right? I will simmer
Yeah.
all day. But the true like feng shui side of it is typically like where are things placed, what are the directions in my home, what are some feng shui cures I can do if the energy's not aligning. It's a little bit more of that overview of like fixing and placing things correctly, and then the ritual brings in the everyday life of I'm connecting with my home, I'm grateful for my home, I'm experiencing my home.
When you say directions, do you mean like cardinal directions?
like, yeah, north, south, east, west. That does play and that is something that is tough to get into on a podcast just because I
Yeah,
need to
I'm sure there's
physically see
so
it.
much. Yeah.
There's a lot of layers to it, but yes, all of those types of things
Very
play
cool.
into the feng shui. The address
love
that you
it.
talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if somebody had like zero budget or like ways to kind of like navigate through their home, of like ways to change things, what's the most like number one thing that you would say, just focus on this?
Yeah, I would focus on if there's no budget, and I love that question because I think feng shui can feel really inaccessible too. Everyone's like, I need to do this, I need to do that. I would say move everything around, shift it, try it in a different place. Even if you put it back, that perspective shift is really important. There's this feng shui kind of tip that if you move 27 things in your space,
I've heard
something
that.
will like break through. Have you read that one? It's fun. Like you can just shift. Like we get very autopilot in our spaces.
Yeah.
We put our stuff here, our pile of mail always goes there, etc. So it's like by moving 27 things, you can really alter the energy and create a breakthrough for yourself without even, and it's very subconscious, but because your mind and your experience, your body isn't seeing things the same old every single day. It really adjusts something energetically. So I think even just starting there, like maybe you have no idea what you want the space to look like decor wise, so move it all around. And then maybe you have a more playful idea, or you're like, I actually do think this color would be really fun on the walls. And then see what opens up or unlocks.
I love that.
Yeah, you feel like a whole new person when you rearrange
Yeah.
your furniture,
think-
like truly.
Yeah,
We
I
do.
think it's hard too, like when you're in a rental and you're like, well, I can't really do much here.
Yeah,
So-
people say that a lot, and I understand why. I get it.
I'm like, I take my deposit. I'm gonna do what I want.
I love that style. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
well, it depends. If you know you're moving very soon, I think it's different.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
just ways to claim your space. Like unpack.
Yeah.
Don't leave stuff in boxes. Like really set yourself. One of the other things I say is like decorate with your hobbies. Like display the
Yeah.
things that bring you joy. I think we get in this rut of like, we saw on Instagram that everyone has the same coffee table book, so that's the coffee table book we buy. Or we have the same couple little things on our like styled shelf, and it just gets very mundane. And it's
Yeah.
like, go through your stuff and be like, I don't want to buy a single new thing. What's something quirky I can put on the table? What's something different that shows my personality? So when someone walks in, they're like, oh, she lives here. And then that starts to make you claim your space more.
Yeah.
I love that. I love, so I just got a place again for the first time in like nearly
That's
3
exciting.
years. And I was going to bring this up earlier and we just started chatting away, but you mentioned like one of the first things to do is like to get rid of clutter because we're so attached to stuff. And it was really interesting. I barely kept anything, but I did have a small storage unit. So I recently unpacked all of that and I was so excited to do that. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have stuff again. I've been living out of like two, one big suitcase and one little suitcase for years now. And I unpacked it all and I was like, ugh, this isn't me. I didn't like any of it. I got completely overstimulated. It gave me anxiety. And I got rid of nearly all of it. And so, we talk a lot about like manifestation here and, going after like the dreams and desires we have in our heart. And I don't think we realize how much of like our identity and our energy is tied up in stuff. And it made me just realize like, wow, like a completely different person owned all of those things. And I'm like, if I hadn't left and I still had all this stuff and I had collected more since then, would I be who I am today? Not that that would have been a bad version of me or a worse version or something, but I would just be a completely different version of me. I don't know. It was just such a like sort of trippy experience because it is like we are so tied up in our stuff in our home. So it's really important to really think about like, why do I have this here? Does it inspire me? Does it bring me joy? Is it me? And it doesn't, I love painting my own art, even though I'm not a very good artist, but it just makes me happy to have my own art in my home, And so, like, it doesn't have to be perfectly aesthetic, just like have it be things that make you happy. And like, that's, I love that. It doesn't have to we don't all have to, follow the trends and whatever,
Totally.
spend all of our money constantly keeping up with the Joneses.
You're totally
Yeah.
touching something I really, really believe. And it's like, it's funny because you're kind of treading this line all the time of like, nothing in my home really has meaning. Like, it's just stuff, right? Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But yet, everything holds meaning. So, balancing that too of like, anything I purchase, whether it was like a dopamine buy on TikTok shop
Yeah.
or something like I picked up at a thrift store or it was passed down or something like that, it has like an energy of that decision attached to it. So it does hold meaning. It holds some sort of frequency to it. But to your point as well, we don't need most of it. And we realize that when we live with less. So it's just an interesting kind of always balancing the two. I had a really similar experience to you when we were moving out of LA. My husband was like, we need a pod, those pods, like the storage units.
Yeah.
He's like, we can't just get rid of all our stuff. And I'm like, I really want to. Like, I just don't want to be done. Just move
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
He's like, no, that's irresponsible. And as we were packing it up, and he's pretty good, like he's a pretty minimal person, but as we were packing it up, I was looking and I'm like, we're not gonna like any of this shit soon. Like we're not gonna want it whenever we open it.
You just
But
know.
for his peace
Yeah.
of mind, we have the pod, it's fine.
Yeah.
Someday we'll have that exact experience where we open it and we're just like, could do
Yep.
without it.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
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 I did
and-
that when I just moved. I got rid of so much stuff.
Yeah.
It feels so good.
Yeah, it
It
really
is.
does. And I still love stuff, but I just don't resonate with any of the stuff I had from years
Yeah.
ago. It was really interesting. And it's exciting now because I'm approaching getting new things for my place in such a different mindset than like I used to be. And it's all very
Yeah.
interesting.
Me
Yeah.
too. I used to like all of my stuff, even I think like just towards the end of living in Nashville, I started buying things that like I actually liked, not that like, oh, I was raised to like this kind of thing. And then so now it finally is just like I still don't have a couch or anything like that, but I have like I'm just, well, technically there's a couch behind me, but this is my office couch. I don't have a couch to sit on
Say
downstairs.
that shows the priority. You took
I'm-
care of that office first.
Yeah, I got a lawn chair downstairs that I've been using. Anyways, the point is that it's just like it's so interesting going through all of that stuff where I was like, I didn't even like any of this at the time. Why do I still have it?
Yeah.
It's been 5 years.
Well, I think
Crazy.
it's intimidating too, decorating a space, setting it up, knowing where to put it. It's all super intimidating to people who don't
Yeah.
necessarily like feel like they resonate with that. And I think for me, like it's always been more about the feeling, the emotion, the intention you want to bring. Like whatever the style looks like is great as well. Like I think that's really fun and it's a playful way. It's like our personal style. It's like how we dress ourselves. Our home is an extension of that. But I think first and foremost, it's about making it feel comfortable, safe, and really like protective. So even if like that means like pretty basic things, that's okay. Like you can infuse a lot of intention, even
Yeah.
though you don't have like the perfect aesthetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of want to go through all the like major rooms in the house and be like
I was
rapid
gonna
fire
ask
like
that too.
one
Yeah.
quick thing like
Yeah.
you should have this or steer clear of this. Can I put you on the spot like that?
Let's do it. What room first?
Okay, let's start with your bedroom.
Bedroom, I would say definitely have two nightstands. You want to create pairs and symmetry. So you want like even numbers. So including pillows, you want like 2, 4, 6, 8 pillows, not 3 or 5. So anywhere you can create symmetry, including in your art. So if you have a piece of art and it shows like 3, I'm just going to use something random, but like 3 animals in it, that's not the best because it's not even. So you want like 2 butterflies rather than 3.
Me rethinking my entire bedroom space right now. I'm like, oh, I gotta get extra. I love that.
Balance. It creates this
Yeah,
feeling of
balance.
a restful space,
Yeah.
and it also invites in, the bedroom is associated in Feng Shui with, like I said, partnership, duality, and the people, the connections we have in our lives. We want evenness there.
Beautiful. Okay, let's do living room next.
Living room, just creating harmony between the five elements. So the living room is a multi-purpose room. It is a space where we spend a lot of our time. We live, we invite people over, we sometimes sit there and work, we watch TV. Like it's just everything at once. It's kind of the hub of our space. So creating some symmetry and balance between the five elements, that's something you want to look up in Feng Shui. It is wood, earth, fire, water, and metal. So there's different ways to do that. I have some Substack posts coming out about it specifically, but just kind of diversifying the stuff in there. So for example, an easier way to say this is to have like a couple different colors, accent colors, and so on, not just all beige everything. You want it to feel like it has life within it. Some plants, some stuff, some accessories, layers to the decor.
Okay.
I love that. Let's do kitchen.
Kitchen is all about organization, because if you go into that space and utilize it and feel like you know where things are and you know where everything is meant to go, you're going to have a better time cooking for yourself and nourishing yourself. A bigger thing, again, kind of like a grosser one, clean your fridge out, like a lot. I think people leave stuff in their pantries, in their fridge. Anything expired is like dead energy. So by no means am I telling you to waste food. I'm saying don't hoard food and then let it go expired.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Like that salad kit that I bought that I was like, I'm definitely going to use this. And then I forgot about it.
The spinach bag that just like
I don't want to throw it away, even though I know I can't eat it anymore because I feel really guilty about it. That one, like that.
Yeah, exactly, that one. It's so funny, so relatable. Like we've all done it.
Like,
We have all done it.
gotta stop buying this.
Does anything change with that? Like, so my living room and my kitchen are like totally open connected.
Okay. Yeah.
So does that change your answer?
No, it doesn't change it. I think that's a really common thing in like modern floor plans now.
Yeah.
I think, and the nice thing about a kitchen, I'm assuming you probably have some sort of like what's the right word?
Like
Either
a
countertop or something that shows like the L. It's differentiating the space. It's not like just wide open. If it was the type of kitchen where it's just kind of on the wall in a studio, I would recommend like placing some sort of like island or something that you buy that creates this feeling of like this is where the kitchen's contained versus the living room.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Differentiating the
room.
space.
Let's see. Dining room, I guess. That's I guess
that's fancy.
kind of
Totally.
in between the kitchen and living room. I don't know. It's always different, but like a dining space.
That's probably the same as the others in the sense that like keeping it balanced, having enough chairs around the table, like 6 of them instead of 5, things like that are all going to be good. Another huge thing I like to do is create some sort of like altar in the middle of the dining room, because it's really an offering to yourself each time you sit down to eat. So this can be weekly flowers that you put there, or like kind of anchoring the center of the table with something like a bowl of really beautiful, vibrant fruit. Just some sort of like acknowledgement of like the living, breathing life force that you're going to be eating there.
I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's see. We talked about bathrooms, but let's circle back to bathrooms. We're closing the toilet lids. Anything else?
Closing the door as well. So like, especially if you can see the toilet. So say if you're in your bedroom trying to fall asleep and you can see inside your bathroom, I would close the door when you sleep.
Okay.
You don't have to be.
I do that so the monsters don't get me.
Well, yeah, that is. I mean, and that's really the
The
most
toilet
important.
monsters, of course. That's why we close the lid.
That's why. Just putting as much like light as you can in there. If you do have windows, for sure, always like making sure there's plenty of light. But otherwise, you can just keep it really simple in there. I think don't try to overdo it with decor and tchotchkes and stuff. Just keep it a simple, clean space. That's it. Don't overthink it.
I love it. Let's see. What about closets?
I love closets because they are such a wonderful space for our creativity. Like I feel like you can walk into your closet and be so inspired. You can color coordinate it. You can make it really fun and a great like display of who you are. Closets in general, I would say keep them for just your clothes. Like I would say like don't try to pack everything you have in there. Like I think a lot of people store things that are like kind of hidden and therefore like feel like almost like shameful or something. Like it's like old like photos and like things that carry maybe a denser or like heavier energy. And while obviously we need to store that somewhere, I wouldn't have it be associated with where you go to like express yourself and feel confident. There's got to be another closet somewhere else in your home or space that you can store these memories that are maybe a little harder. So I'm talking about like, you know, things from deceased relatives, like stuff that just doesn't necessarily represent you and the way that you embody and embrace your style and your personality.
Yeah. What am I missing? Any other rooms? We talked about guest rooms, making them multi-purpose, useful.
How about home office? I could talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think like that space, having some sort of view that's not a wall. So what that means is it's called the command position. You want to move your desk either by a window so you're looking out, like I'm looking out now, or placing it so that you can see the door and you have the wall behind you. That creates more security. So think about how a CEO's office, you know, on the top floor, they're never facing the wall. They're facing out so they can see anyone who's coming to interact with them. This is going to be more inspiring, more productive. You don't want to create this energy of being like in a cubicle, essentially. So just move your desk in a way that lets it feel a little bit more open and expansive.
Okay, I think technically this is like I'm looking at a wall, but I'm like on a loft. So it's like I'm looking. It's like open, but there's a wall.
Yeah,
but
that's great.
Okay.
No, perfect. Yeah, my old space had a loft as well, and same. It's like you're still able to see past. You're not confined.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing drives me crazier than sitting in front of a wall. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I have a little built-in desk in my new place, and it's facing a wall, but it's actually a really cool altar. I turned it into an altar.
Oh, yeah, that's brilliant. That was a great way to do it.
Cause I was like, there's no way in hell I will be working facing this wall.
Like
I mean, there's no way. It's like, well, it's like in the, this kind of like hallway situation. It's hard to just explain, but I was like, were people working here? This like, what? But it's the best altar I've ever had. Yeah, it's amazing.
What about hallways?
Yeah, so it depends on like the length of them. I would say like the longer, the more narrow, and the darker a hallway, the more energy is going to get trapped there. So be mopping and sweeping your hallways, dusting your hallways, the corners up in the ceiling, things like that, because it's just really easy for the energy to get stuck as it's flowing through. So I think in a hallway, just being mindful of the light, especially because dark spaces create more stagnant energy and like a little denser energy. So when I go through a lot of hallways or upstairs, I'll also do a lot of sound kind of clearing. So I'll clap, I'll ring a bell. Those are all good kind of pathways to do that in.
Amazing. Good to know. Good to know.
Great questions, guys. I appreciate them.
Are there any other spaces in homes that we're missing? I feel like that covers.
Yeah, we talked about the entryway. I mean, we could get like super like granular and get into like basements and attics and all that, but I think the basics are covered there. And I think we talked a lot about some of the spaces that obviously anyone's going to want to work on first too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, thank you. I feel like we've just had a master class and we can all move through our homes and make these little adjustments and things. So amazing.
Yeah, it was good to share.
Yeah.
I have maybe one more question.
Okay.
We probably answered it, but phrasing it a different way.
Yeah.
Okay. What about when you're like going for vibes, but it doesn't match the feng shui? How do we work with this?
Meaning, so you have a particular vibe and like an aesthetic that you're loving, but feng shui wise, it's a no-no?
Yeah, like what if I, like for my living room, it's not very, like I don't have a lot of space in there, but I do want like a big couch and a coffee table, but then it does feel like that might be a little crowded if I do that.
Yeah.
So
I think it's okay because, and the reason being, if you're obsessed with it and love it, it's always the best feng shui. Like I tell that to anyone. If someone said to me, if I walked into a home and I was like, this is like the most no-no thing, they have a mirror facing their bed, for example, that's like a no-no. But they say, I sleep like a baby, I have no bad dreams, and every time I look at that mirror, I'm super happy and I want it there. I'd be like, okay, cool, feng shui is great then. That's all that matters.
Okay, great.
You know? So I guess what I'm saying is like, if you have a vision for it specifically and you want to execute it and you just feel like that's what you need in this space, that is completely okay. Like that's kind of going back to that original, idea of like there are no rules. The rule is there are no rules.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would be mindful about, how large it is, like if it's taking over the whole space and kind of
See.
like being like the only focal point because you're going to want to layer other things. But maybe you have this really cool vision of this like amazing sectional that becomes like a conversation pit or like
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
I'm
like a
going
space where
for.
everyone's going to like cuddle up and pull cards and hang out and
Yeah.
just like a vibey, chill space. Then that's the vision for it. And I think that's
Yes.
amazing.
You got it.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
You're
I
like, I want to
have. Do you have a favorite part of your home, Kate? And like, what kind of like intentional feng shui magic have you infused into it?
Yeah, so I am currently nomadic as well. So I'm missing
Oh,
my old space because that was such a great area for me. I really loved, in my last home, I loved our plants. Like we just had so many
mm,
thriving plants
Yeah.
that we were very fortunate to have a lot of natural light, and we just really found kind of a rhythm with our plants, and they were doing really well. And every room I stepped in had one that just like lit me up when I saw it.
yeah.
Particularly our balcony was where I used to go in the mornings, and we had a bunch of stuff out there too. So that was my favorite little morning ritual. I miss that very much. I like to be wherever the light is coming in. That's like I'm
Same.
a sun
I'm a
Yeah.
person.
cat. I'm like, let me
Yeah.
find where the sun is. We're gonna
Literally,
hang
I'm in
out
the patio
there.
or laying on the floor with the warmth. Yeah, that's me too. So if there's
Yeah.
light and good plants and good energy, I'm pretty happy.
Amazing.
Same, same. I always
Yeah.
say like, I am a plant. I just want to be in the sunshine. I'll be fine.
Yeah. I can't
It's
wait
been
to go
super
by with
weird not
you.
having my space and those different little rituals. And
Yep.
yeah, I think
I
you said
remember
like,
adjusting to that. Yeah. It was
yeah,
hard, honestly. And it was hard to like I didn't feel like a witch for a little
hmm
bit
Mm.
because a lot of that is tied into like my candles, my little apothecary of herbs and
yeah,
whatever. And I kind of had to like relearn or like re-identify like that's not what makes me
yep,
spiritual. That's not what makes me a witch. Like I had my little crystals. I'd set up my little bedside, altar and my little abundance altar wherever I went. I had a little, pack of that, but it was
I'm relating to
hard.
it a lot too because right now I'm like, I'm working in this space. I talk about all of this, and yet I don't fully have a
Mhm.
home right now, and it's
Hmm.
temporary. Like we have a plan
Yeah.
of, in the next like 6 months or so, we're just on an adventure. But it's been fun to
Yeah.
reframe that identity, like you're talking about, and being like,
Yeah.
I can
Mhm.
still be a big believer in all of this, even though I'm practicing it very different right now. And I
Yep.
actually think it's inspiring me because I'm redefining a little bit of like what home
Yeah.
has to look like.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit bumpy or like funky feeling sometimes, but it's also like the coolest thing ever. So
It's
that's
fun.
exciting for you. I
Thank
love
you.
that.
Thank you.
My last question, what's something that always shifts your energy when you're feeling off? Maybe it's feng shui related, maybe something completely different. But what's your like you're like, oh, vibes aren't here. What's your like go-to to shift your own energy really quickly?
It's always movement and music. Those two things can
Mm,
change everything. And
same.
honestly, they do relate to feng shui because what we
Yeah.
just talked about of like you move things around, you adjust them to shift
Yeah.
the vibe, and also even playing like healing tones, cleansing tones, really
Yeah.
loud music will break up anything that's dense. So, but
Yeah.
for me personally, like windows down, drive, dancing, singing my songs
Yes.
like full volume, like that is going to help me have more of a release than like any meditation or any journaling. I just need to move it, move it.
Yeah. I
Move
Yep.
it.
honestly
Move
think my
it.
best spiritual practice is like blasting Beyonce and going for my daily walk,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm like
Like just shaking it
my
out.
most intense spiritual daily experience, honestly.
Yeah. Yep. You can keep it
I love
simple for
that.
sure.
I love that. Oh my God. Well, Pam, do you have any other questions for Kate?
Um, I don't think so. None that I could like very quickly ask you. I feel like we could be here for a very long time. So I think we covered a
So
lot
inspiring. So you're
and we
welcome
This
to
did
ask.
was
really well.
so much good information. Thank you. Kate, tell us like where can we find you? We'll put all of your links, of course, in the show notes. But if you just want to tell our listeners, where to follow you, where to find your book, any other offers, ways they can work with you or get in touch with you. You mentioned your Substack. give us the rundown of how to get more of your magic.
Amazing. So my readings are on my website, katevanhorn.com. I have tarot readings, intuitive readings, and space readings. I also mentor and host retreats 4 times a year. So all the information is on there. My Substack is called Intuitive Living, and I share all things on self and space, rituals for your energy, as well as your home.
That's what I saw. I saw Read Intuitive Living, so I was like, that's her book. Circle back to the beginning. And you have your book, Inner Tarot.
Yes.
The Inner Tarot is also available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever books are sold.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I recommend.
Thank you. Thanks, Pam.
Well, thank you so much, Kate. Thank you, Giggly Witches, for listening. Make sure you go give Kate a follow and click all of her links. We'll put all of her information in the show notes for you. And make sure you're subscribed wherever you like to listen. Giggly Witches is on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And you can find us at Giggly Witches on Instagram and TikTok as well. I'm Sadie at I am Sadie Olson. You can find all my links in the show notes too. And Pam, what about you?
I'm Velvet Snake Oracle. You can also find my links in the show notes. Everything you need is in there.
Everything you need. All right, stay Giggly Witches, and we'll see you next week. Bye.